You know what? We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Um, yeah. Wait, was it in here? Oh, it is in here. Great, great, great. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Um. Okay. Yeah, it's this thing. Okay. Dismiss. Right. So let's talk about this. I'm gonna throw this in the chat while I'm thinking about it. Okay. So actually, Matt, you last time we talked, you said you feel like you got a pretty good handle on what goes on inside of HTTP. Do you want to just like break it down for us, and we'll like talk through it?
I mean, from what standpoint? Like from somebody
Uh,
types a web address into a web page shows up, or
yeah, yeah.
what do you mean?
Like you want to give us the classic like you type google.com into a browser and hit enter. What happens next?
Sure. I
Okay,
mean,
and Wayne, for context, sorry, I've got to put you on this screen now so that I look like I'm looking somewhere else. But this is a classic interview question. I don't know if you've ever had anybody ask you this question, but in technical interviews, it's a classic question. Somebody will say, you type google.com into a browser and you hit enter, then what happens? And you can go into an unbelievable amount of detail on this. Like it's crazy how deep people have gone on this, but it's like it's a very when somebody's answering this question will give you a good idea of how much they understand the web. So, Matt, it's your job interview. Knock shit up.
all right. Well, I might get in some details you don't care about. So obviously, the very first thing that happened is your browser will talk to your local computer, and therefore its DNS server and say, "Hey, I'm trying to get to Google.com. What exactly is that?" And that DNS server will reach out to whatever the root server is that's responsible for Google.com or whatever the NS record is, and get its IP address. Feed that IP address back. A socket will be opened over TCP, which will then attempt to contact that IP address via port 80. IP will do routing things and look up your default route and figure out how to actually get packets there and back. I'll gloss over the router and the NAT and all that other shit that happened
Sure.
in the middle. We'll just pretend you're connected directly to the internet. And out will go a request to a web server that says, "Hi, I'm looking to get some web content." Uh, there'll be various things in the header, generally stuff like what browser it's coming from, application types, things of that nature. And then the server will turn around, and I mean, these days it'll probably say, "What the fuck you reaching out on port 84? You should be on 443, and this should be secure." But again, we'll gloss over that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it'll reply back with some HTML. That HTML works its way back across the internet, gets to your computer, and is rendered by your browser, and up on your page pops a website.
Brilliant. Well, when can you start?
How much you paying? I feel like you skipped some interview questions there, kid.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just, or oops, let's not do that. Yeah, okay. So I am going to uh, open a connection to my web server and do this manually. So this is what your browser does uh, when you send an HTTP connection to something. It connects to port 80 and then it types some commands and you can type more things here. Like I can type this is what like a header what Matt was talking about. These are like little bits of metadata about. So like if I don't provide a host header and I just hit enter, it says bad request. That's like an incomplete HTTP request. So in order to send a complete HTTP request, I have to send both an action. So I'm saying I want to get the file that's located at slash. In fact, I'll do it like this just to make it even more obvious, like what's happening here. And this request is using version 1.1 of the HTTP protocol. And when I hit enter, it allows me to type another thing like a header. So I'm going to do host rob.salmon.ca, and I could type more stuff. But this is so now I get a valid response instead of bad request. I get a 301. So this is an HTTP status code that says you cannot access this file here. It's actually now located here. You have to go to this URL instead of what you were trying to do, which is basically redirecting to TLS. Anyway, all I want to get across is that HTTP is a very simple text-based protocol. Like your browser does a lot of stuff for you, and like the new versions of HTTP, HTTP2 and HTTP3, are like binary packed and they're like much more efficient and stuff. But at its basic level, you could just open up a TCP socket to a port and start typing text and get data back. If I do this to there we go. This is valid HTML. So that now the HTTP bin is just a web server that's like really, really simple and it's used for like simple testing. So this is my request. This is the complete request. This is the headers of the response. So this is like if you open up, where's Chrome? So if I go to HTTP bin in my browser and open up Chrome Inspector, this is the debug tools. Click on the network tab. So when I reload the page, Chrome's going to show me all the HTTP requests that it made while I was trying to load this page. So here's the main one. And I can see here are my request headers, and here are the response headers. Access control, content length, content type, date, server. And then if I go back to my shell, you can see content length, content type, server, and so on. So it's the type of headers you get back depend on the type of request you make. But all I really want you to understand is that you send plain text, you get plain text. If you ask for a binary file, you'll get properly encoded binary data. But there's not a ton to it. So the reason that I want you to understand that is that it helps when you're mapping HTTP requests to code. So this is where like web apps kind of like get weird, because when the web was developed, the whole idea was based around documents. It was just around HTML. It was like you write HTML, the user fetches HTML, and they read your HTML, and then it it has a fucking blink GIF or something like that, right? But somewhere along the line, pretty early on, somebody was like, what if instead of writing HTML, I write a program that writes HTML? And that was like the invention of web apps. Like shortly after. Okay, so here is our web app. This is the simplest possible Python web app. And do I still have my virtual env here? I do. But actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I need. So this is only using built-in Python standard library imports. So I don't actually need to activate my virtual env. I think what I can do is just run this. Okay, so now this program is a web server and it's listening. And it's listening on port 8080. So if I connect to localhost on 8080, let's see here, there's nothing fancy happening here. There's no routing or anything like that. So all I can do is do get / using HTTP 1.1, and I get automatically, notice it gave me content type and content length, and then the word hello. In my code, I don't have anything. Oh, I do have content type. I don't have anything here about content length. And that's because this simple server that like comes with the Python standard library, it saw what I returned from my function, which was just the word hello with a new line, and then worked out the content length for me, and then included that header as part of the response. And it's standard header that has to be there in the response. So you send a request and some headers to the server, you get some headers and a response back. And then the interesting part is you start writing software to write those responses for you. So I want the two of you to run this. Just make sure you can run this right now locally.
Sorry, where did you paste that?
It's
Because I don't think you pasted it.
Oh, didn't I? Oh, I pasted it and then didn't hit enter. Sorry. There it is.
There you go. Figure it out.
I was
Figure it
about to
out,
type
bud.
out everything.
What's that?
I was about to type everything out.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no. Yeah, and actually I've got this junk in here. So here's a little Python trick. In Python, 3 quotes are special. Anything that lives inside of 3 quotes, um,
Is a comment.
it's like a comment. You're right. It doesn't get treated as code, but it's actually kind of special. Um, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so here I'm in my debugger. I've checked for my locals, and one of my locals that I have access to is the function that I defined called app. So this function here shows up as a local. And if I do this, it gives me whatever is in this string. So it's like a comment, but it's not really a comment if you put one of these right under a function definition. Then it's what's called a docstring. And this is obviously I'm using it like a comment because I had some code in here that I didn't want to run anymore. But docstrings are really useful for when you want your users of your code to have a little bit of like documentation right there at hand when they're using it. So for example, del is a Python built-in, and I bet I can do. No, I can't do del.doc. What else could I do? pprint. There we go. Yeah, so like this, I'm just accessing the double underscore doc property. Remember I said earlier, like double underscore is like a magic thing in Python. So double underscore doc says if there's a doc string, then return it. Basically, it turns it into an attribute. Anyway, that's a random side quest. Doesn't have anything to do with HTTP servers. Just wanted to explain what that was. Okay, how are you guys getting along?
Well, one of the fun things about using WSL is you have to figure out a way to actually, try and connect to the web server that you're running.
Oh, you can't connect to localhost?
Well, no, not while the fucking code's running. I don't have a second prompt.
Oh,
So hold on, I'm making some magic happen. Simmer down.
do you know Screen? You can use Screen.
Yeah, I could do a screen. That's an interesting idea. Didn't think about that.
Wayne, are you familiar with Screen?
If you just go localhost 8080.
Well, what he's saying is, you want to share your screen, Matt, and show him what you're talking about? I think what he's saying is that if he opens a new terminal, it'll be a new VM.
It'll be. Yeah, exactly.
And so localhost doesn't have anything listening on it.
Now, also to be fair, there is a chance that if I do that, I can get to it through the backend IP stack that makes everything work. That's what I was fucking around with. But I will share my screen. Share. Where are you? Windows Terminal.
And just for like context, Screen is a program that keeps your terminal running in the background. So if now I'm inside of a screen, and if I run a program like HTOP, which just shows you like all the programs that are running on my computer right now, I can close this, do some other stuff, whatever, and then resume my screen. And when I bring my screen back, oh, I've actually got 2 going right now. That's the wrong one. This is something else that I was doing for work. So I'm going to get rid of that and resume the other screen. Anyway, it's back. So, any luck?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
There, that'll show the right thing. It was not allowing me to share the stuff. Okay, so yeah, what I was saying is if I do Python 3 web server, like it's cool it starts the server, but I can't do anything else on that terminal screen. So connecting to localhost is
right. Okay, so do you want to start
no
screen?
Dice, but well, hold on.
What?
I guess this is the most standard Linux install after I blew away some things.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, not tilde.
Is there no tab completion?
Then now I should be able to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Ta-da.
Okay. How
Now
are you?
I accessed it a different way. Sorry
Did you?
about that.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck you just do.
No luck?
Oh, hold on. I can do that a little slower. Oh, right.
Like I ran the script,
Yeah.
but I just went into a browser and went localhost 8080.
Right. So I can't go into a browser because this is WSL, right? It's running
Yeah.
inside of a virtual machine. It's self-contained, right?
So, but I do in the same WSL Ubuntu that you guys told me to download.
Yes. Yeah. So the problem is the way WSL works is it boots up a virtual PC inside your machine. So localhost inside of that virtual machine is not the same as localhost on your Windows machine. So when you go to Windows machine type localhost, there's no process listening there. You have to
So
do
hold
it
on.
from inside of WSL.
Hold on, though. Wayne may be onto something because he might have done what I was about to do. Hold on, I got to present a whole screen to make this seem reasonable.
Okay.
So what in theory would work is if I run that and I pop over a browser, I should be able to go to, what was it? Where's my other window that had the fucking IP
Oh,
address
you're
on it?
getting the specific IP for your VM?
No, I
Yes,
mean, like if you just go localhost colon 8080.
that should not work.
Yeah. And
That
yet
did work.
it works.
That's very interesting.
So
That's
let's just
what
have
I did.
somebody.
That's what I did, and it worked.
It doesn't work?
No, it worked.
Oh, did
No,
it?
that's interesting because that should not work.
Okay, well, I have no idea how WSL works, but it's
Yeah,
great
like
that it works.
I understand how you explain it. The virtual machine and Windows, it shouldn't be communicating. But
Yeah, because localhost is
There must be some magic in there that's like translating network devices or something. I don't know.
like I have an IP running in the correct subnet, but localhost should not resolve that. That's Windows doing some Windows fuckery right there.
Well, whatever. That makes life easier. So,
Yeah.
okay. Let's go back here then. So, here's what I want. I want you to drop a debug, like a breakpoint right here. And then I want you to run it.
So right after the def.
Yeah, right as this function enters. So what happens is, let me just talk through what's happening here. So we import this make server function from this standard library. So WSGI, often pronounced whiskey or whiskey, is the standard way for translating those like simple text-based HTTP requests that we saw into Python, into functional code that can run. And so this built-in thing that comes with the Python standard library is if you don't use anything else, if you don't use Django, if you don't use Flask, if you don't use any of these like, batteries included like Python web frameworks, if you just use the bare bones basics, you can serve web traffic from your Python app by using this. And the way it works is you define a function, but your function has to accept very specific arguments. It has to accept two things: a list of environment variables, and this variable is actually itself a function. Notice how down here, I call this function. So what's happening is, down here I say my server, I'm creating a new server by calling the make server function and saying that I want it to listen on localhost on port 8080, and I want the function called app to respond to all the traffic that comes in on localhost 8080. And then I call server.handleRequest, and this is what puts us into that loop where it just sits there waiting for traffic and responds to it. When a request comes in, the logic inside this function will call this function, and it will pass in some information about the request, which I'm going to show you in a moment. And then it's also going to pass in a tool, and this is the tool that WSGI says, when you're ready and you want to send data back to your user, just call this function. I've got this tool for you. And so here I say, okay, I'm calling the start response function. I'm going to say it's okay, and I want to pass these response headers. And then my function just needs to return data, and that becomes the body of the response. So this is how I set the headers of my response. This is how I set the body. Okay, awesome. You're already there. So, did I set a breakpoint?
Yeah, you got to actually hit the site before the breakpoint triggers.
Yeah, so that's the next thing. You have to actually send a request. So you sent a request, and here, let me bring you over here so we can see. Oops, where'd you go? There you go. Okay, so you sent a request, you hit your breakpoint, and now you have this huge pile of junk in your locals. And the interesting stuff is inside of the variable called environ. This tells us all about the incoming HTTP request. So could you do, yeah, let's just do that. It's not a function. You don't have to call it. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this. Do from pprint, import pprint, like that. Pprint is pretty print, and then do pprint parentheses environ parentheses. It just makes stuff easier to read. Okay, here we go.
So I'm not getting that.
What do you got? You want to show us what you got?
Yeah, let me share.
Okay. So type locals. With the brackets. Okay, yeah, there you go. Your environ is there. So you got a variable called environ. See it right at the very first one there?
Mm-hmm.
So now do the same thing. Import pprint, the pprint function. From pprint, import pprint. And this is actually so useful, it's probably a good idea to just put it at the top of your code. Oh yeah, actually I already have it. I already have it in there. You don't even need to import it. I'm sorry. I made you do stuff you don't have to do. It's already imported. Anyway, yeah, go ahead and pprint your environment dictionary. Oh, you gotta put pass the variable and name in there. So put pprint bracket environ. Bracket. There you go. Okay, so here's what's going on in here. The WSGI server that built into Python has looked into the incoming TCP traffic that your browser sent and the HTTP request that your browser sent, and it's extracted a bunch of information about the browser. And then it's injected it into this dictionary. So you see there's a bunch of stuff here about HTTP except, like all the interesting ones start with HTTP underscore. So these are all of the request headers that your browser sent to the Python app. And Python is just making them available as a dictionary. The other thing that's in here are all of the environment variables in the shell where you ran Python. So this is a very common way for us as developers to, if we want our app to have like, let's say we want our app to connect to a database, right? And the database has an IP address. Well, you don't want to hard code the IP address of the database in your source code, because then tomorrow when there's a new database, that means you have to go make a source code change and you have to commit to source control and blah, blah, blah. But usually what you do is you set an environment variable that has the IP address of the database in it, and then your Python app, when it starts up, it just checks the environment variables and looks for one called database IP address or something like that, and then it connects to that. So this is why it's useful to have all the environment variables in your Python application, not just the stuff that's coming from the browser, but the stuff that's coming from the environment, so that it can like do stuff, do useful things. So we should also see up under. Oh yeah, here we go. This is request method, remote address. So lots of useful stuff here. I want to see, is the path here, request path?
There's path info, but that's an environment.
Yeah,
Should maybe up in the HTTP. That's just a regular path environment variable.
Yeah, no, I'm looking.
Yeah. Okay, so here, I'll tell you what. So now's a good time to uncomment that code that I had in there. Oops. So this code, when you put it back, it goes through the contents of this dictionary and it yanks out all those things that are not related to the HTTP request. So if you save this and start your server again and send a request, yeah, it's a lot easier to read. You have to Control C or Control D. I'm not sure which to get it to stop. Yeah, there you go.
Control C and then run the.
Yeah. Every time you make a change, and we'll get to the point where we don't have to do this every time. But every time, right now, every time you make a change, you need to close and restart the program.
Right, but it's just doing this blinking thing.
Oh,
yeah, you gotta
Wayne,
make a request.
Hold on, Wayne. You need to put your breakpoint after the new code we just commented. Otherwise, you won't get the cleaned up environment variables.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nothing happened.
When you gotta curl it? Did you send a request?
What do you mean?
Hit the site again from your browser.
There you go. Yeah. So because it's because that handle request, that line 21 handle request, that puts Python into a wait state where it's just going to wait forever until traffic comes in from a user. So in order to get to our breakpoint, we have to generate traffic. So now you don't have to do the import thing. I forgot I already have it there on line 2. So you can just do pprint environ, and you should see a much smaller set of environment variables. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, this is a little more readable. So this basically, I got rid of all of the environment variables that have nothing to do with the HTTP request. So this is only what the browser sent or what the built-in WSGI library injected that I thought you might need, like, I don't know, WSGI.errors and file wrapper. Honestly, I don't really know much about how this thing works because almost nobody ever uses this thing because there are so many nicer libraries that provide like much nicer abstractions on top of this that make it easier for us as developers to develop. But I want you to see how we could build a very, very, very simple web app with just this. So in here, you see it says path info.
Mm-hmm.
There's an environment variable called path info. So so basically what that does, and if I can get my thing here, yeah. So I'm just gonna start this back up again, and I'm gonna send a request to whatever. I'm even gonna spell it wrong. You can see that path info has changed based on the request that I made. So this is how our application code can do something different depending on what the user wants, depending on what the browser requested, right? So if the browser requested index.html, maybe we just loaded an HTML file off of disk and serve it to them. But if the browser requested /users, maybe we query the database and show them a list of users.
Maybe we send them to a completely different web server, like a proxy front end
Right.
type setup.
Okay, so let's try this. So I'm gonna leave this bit here, and here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what was it? Path info.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, return body.
like that. Okay. So now if I start this up and I spell whatever right. Oh yeah, I've still got my breakpoint in there. So I just hit continue to let, I hit C to let the program continue running. Oh, right on. I forgot to put, well, that's interesting. I don't know if this will work. So, oh, okay, this is an important little Python bit of trivia here that you need to know. So B tells Python, treat this string as bytes. And F tells Python, this string needs formatting. Do some formatting with these curly braces and fill it in with whatever variables you know about. I have no idea if you can combine these two together. Let's find out. No, that's invalid syntax.
Do you need the
Okay.
B?
Well, so what we need so here let's just let me show you what happens. So if I do not convert this to bytes, and I send my request, hitting slash whatever, I get an error from inside. So you see this backtrace. This is showing me the path to the built-in standard library. So this is like what you get with Python. This is where it is installed on my laptop. And it's, this is coming from code that somebody else wrote in the standard library saying, yeah, you tried to send a string of text, but all we can send is a series of bytes. So I need to convert a string to bytes. So I have a guess of how to do that, but I'm just going to do what I would normally do is convert string to bytes Python. How do you do this?
In parentheses and then put a B.
Sorry, what was that?
Nothing.
Oh. Byte array. Byte array source encoding. Okay. Oh, it's easier than I thought. String.encode. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. String. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay. It's been a while since I wrote code. I've been teaching workshops for too long. Okay. Hey, that worked. Okay, great.
Hey.
I've got the word whatever. Okay, so let me show you that code again. So there's a lot of magic happening in one line, and I apologize. What I should do is let's just do this. Let's do this. Let's take away some of the. I'm doing everything in one line here because it's Pythonic or whatever. But let's just spell it out. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a string that contains the response I want to send. Oh yeah, right. And I'm going to put the new line in there.
Okay, Python question.
Yes.
Why do the format on body?
If
you're tucking it into a variable, you don't really need to do that, do you?
Well, okay, so it's because I want to add the new line. So here, yeah, let's try this. So if I just did actually, if
body,
you just skip that,
just do body dot whatever.
Yeah, body dot encode. Yeah, you're right. This. Let's see here. This will work. UTF-8. And actually,
do UTF-9 just for funsies.
Okay, so if I run this and I make a request, yeah. So this is my shell telling me there's no new line. I have my shell configured to do this.
Oh.
So you're right. That could be fine. So But what I want is, because I wanted the new line, I'm gonna just spell it out in several steps instead of doing it all in one step. So I'm gonna go create a new string that contains the body and a new line, and then I'm gonna say response.encode to UTF-8. And this just makes it a little more explicit what's happening, rather than having a whole bunch of magic happening in one return line. As you get more comfortable with the language, your return statements will get more complex. But for now, it's okay to just sort of spell it out a line at a time. And in fact, you could even you could even do something like this. Just to make it really explicit. You know what I'm saying? So that on each line is only doing one step of thing. Like here we add the new line, here we encode it, here we return it, basically. Okay, let me know when you both got that working.
It's easier to do when you don't tab away from it, guy. But...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was trying to see what you were doing, and then I hit it. Yeah.
That looks reasonably correct. Oh, interesting.
What do you got?
I just ran Black against it for funsies, and Black was like, fuck me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is there a syntax error?
No, cannot parse. Oh, I see why.
What can't it parse?
It can't parse a semicolon versus the colon that it actually expects to see.
Yeah, syntax error. Black's a good way to sniff out those kinds of things.
So what I'm supposed to do? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Because the breakpoint's still there, you have to type the letter C and then hit enter, which just means continue.
Ha! Oh, sorry. I wasn't muted. My bad.
Let's see here. I think there's a typo on line 22. Yeah, there you go. And you may as well just comment out the breakpoint on line 12, just so you don't have to keep continuing every time. I don't know how other people do this, but when I am writing Python, I am constantly adding and removing breakpoints all the time. Does it look right? Yeah, the response looks okay? No?
I got hello.
Oh, you want to show us? Oh, you got a 500.
Oh, interesting.
That is interesting. You got a 500. So let's have a look at the code and see if we can figure out what happened.
No, he got a 500 the first time when he had typo. He got a 200 the second time.
Oh.
It returned hello.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you didn't go to / whatever. That's what you expected it to do. Go to localhost :8080 / whatever in your browser.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So here. Oh, it's not running.
Oh, yeah.
So does it always stop?
Yeah. This thing will die as soon as. There's no loop in Rob's code that loops it to keep running.
Yeah, there might be a way. I don't, like I said, I don't know who uses this built-in one. Probably the libraries that I mentioned earlier, like
Well,
Django and Flask, use it under the hood or something like it.
hold on. In theory, you can do this. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yes, Python, I did mean capital T. If you were smart enough to tell me that in the air, why didn't you just fix it? Fuck's sakes.
Let me see here. So here's how I would figure this out.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it served the web page, but then got real mad at me.
You tried to run the handle request function twice.
Yeah, it basically, I just stuck the request call into a while true, which I figured would
Would
just
work?
run it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here. All right. I'll just for the sake of argument. No, is it? Oh, jeepers! It's been really.
No, just while true,
Yeah. Okay.
and then
Like that?
tab that over. Yep.
Okay.
And then it served the page just fine, but
So
then
I
got
curl
real
it?
mad. Yeah. Oh, it got real mad at me. I didn't do it through curl. I did it through a browser, but
Oh, really? Yeah, it seems to work okay for me.
well, hold
Just
on.
put
You
it in
put the
infinite
while
loop.
in a slightly different spot than I did, so
Oh yeah, where'd you put yours?
above the server equals.
Okay, so the reason I put this here is that you really only need to make the server function. So make server is returning a complex object, and then this complex object has a method on it. We'll talk more about objects later, but this.
Oh yeah, that works.
Yeah, the method is the only thing we really care about. Creating the object over and over again is a waste of time.
Okay, so what I proved here is my theory for coding is excellent.
Yes.
My practice is fucking terrible.
No, it's good. You got good intuition. I like that.
Also,
so-
technically, now my web server's in an infinite loop, but Control C will take care of that.
Yeah, that's what you want in a web server, an infinite loop, right? Like that's
Yeah,
essentially what a web
that's
server
true.
is.
Realistically, you definitely want the web server to be in an infinite loop.
Yeah. Okay, Wayne, how do you feel about this?
Yep. Just testing. Oh yeah, so it just continuously loop then.
It looks good?
Yep.
Oh yeah, it looks great. Okay, great. So, all right.
So, question.
Go.
In that return, because we're formatting it as bytes and it starts as a string, you could write any level of HTML on there. Like I could return IMG, IMG source equals quote, and then like a link to a picture, and that would return.
Yeah, totally. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do this. Let's do.
So basically, you could create all the web pages from this.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. But here, so here's what we need to do. We need to do a little more screwing around here. We also need to do something like this. So when you're sending back HTML, you can't send back the content type as text plain because otherwise the browser will not try to render it as a web page. So now what we need to do is change our headers to say we're going to dynamically select which header we want. Either we're going to send back text plain if we're only sending back plain text, or we're going to send back.
Oh yeah.
You see
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
There.
Did
it work?
Give me a second. No, it will in a second. I'm doing something fun.
All right. Okay, let me let's see here. This like,
Well, you should. It'll spoil the surprise if you watch my screen while I set it
okay,
up.
all right. I'm not watching. Wait,
Yeah,
how do I
yeah,
close
get.
this damn thing? Why won't this
Oh,
die?
I have to stop sharing, don't I? Here.
Whatever. I'm not watching. Do whatever.
Yeah, you got to give me a minute though.
Oh, for crying out loud, my keyboard keeps switching layouts on me. Okay, there we go.
Are you rocking out in Dvorak still?
Yeah, that's all I ever use.
Are you seriously still doing Dvorak?
Yeah. Okay, so this seems to work. So I'll leave this here so you can look at it, and I'm just gonna test it in a browser. Great, it looks great.
All right, so I got to do the content.
Here, I'll paste that blob of HTML, so you don't have to like type it all from scratch.
So if I remember HTML correctly, you don't actually have to pass head or any of that stuff. You just need HTML and /HTML, and then the rest.
I think you know what I think. What I was thinking is, I think I wanted to do this. Yeah. This is actually what I wanted. Here, hold on. Let me update the HTML in Slack there. I'll paste this updated one. This is what I was trying to do.
In theory, that should work. It's been so long since I did any HTML.
Yeah. Well, you'll see pretty quickly, like, nobody likes writing HTML this way. So basically,
zeros.
Nobody does it.
Zeros and decimal integer literals are not permitted. Holy fuck.
You want to show me the error?
No, it's getting real mad that I passed a URL
Okay.
that has a 0 in it.
Oh. Does it start with a 0?
No. Which is
there we go.
It's in quotes, so I would have expected it wouldn't have mattered, but
So
Okay.
I see your error win. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull this over here. So this is what the built-in WSGI server does when the Python app that's running encounters an exception. Remember we saw the exception handling stuff last time?
Yeah.
So if an exception happens in the function that's supposed to be returning some kind of response, then instead it returns a 500, which is basically server done goofed. Like, no idea what to do now. So if you're out there on the internet and you see a 500 error, it's because somebody wrote some bad software, usually.
Okay.
So let's look at this exception. So what do we see here? Unbound local variable content type referenced before assignment. Right. So in there, you need to add. Okay. Yeah. So we need on line 18. You need to copy that line to like the first if block and the second if block, or the third if block, I should say, and then change it from HTML to text plain. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're ensuring that regardless of what the user types, we always set the content type to something. You have to break and restart your program. I'll show you at some point how to avoid having to break and restart your program all the time because it's a pain in the ass. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I was supposed to get though.
That is correct. So, it's because check out line 18. Check out your if condition on line 18.
Oh, damn it. I'll have to break those down.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let's try.
There we go. So putting the word fuck inside of those title tags made the top tag turn into fuck.
Ah, sick.
This is just standard HTML. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to explain HTML. I don't care about HTML. I fucking hate HTML. If you want to learn HTML, go learn HTML.
Yeah, you want to learn HTML? Go find somebody who cares.
Yeah. Most, they're in. I remember years ago, I was at this guy's house. It was like a family barbecue. This guy that I knew, and his uncle or granddad or somebody was there, and he used to work at Intel. And I immediately lost interest in every other person at that barbecue and spent the whole time grilling his uncle about what it was like to work at Intel. And he was talking about like making CPUs, like making them from nothing. And but then he was asking me like, why are you so interested? Like, you seem like a nerd. What's going on? And I was telling him at the time I was learning HTML. This was like 1997 or something like that. And I was like learning how to make web pages. And he was like, oh, that's so cool. I'd love to learn how to make web pages. And I was like, how do you not know how to make web pages? You build chips. And that was like my first introduction to the idea that there are people who have their brain just likes or is better suited to a particular layer of the stack. And so you can have deep expertise at one layer and absolutely no knowledge of another layer. And that's what I mean when I say like I can't teach you HTML. Front end development, that's what they call front end web development, is not for me. Like, I'm very bad at it. I always have been. And I don't really try to give it much thought. I'm just like, well, it's not for me. There's other people who are very, very good at that. I'm sure one of them can explain it. But yeah, every time I have to like open up the JavaScript console, like part of me dies.
Ooh, wow! I really didn't like that.
Matt, what the fuck have you got over there, man?
No, don't worry. I'm just you keep doing important stuff. I'm learning on the fly here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
Let's build a really simple, stupid router.
This is going to be so much ado about nothing when I actually make this work. You're going to be like, oh, cool, idiot.
Okay. Actually, yeah, no, let's do this. We'll go. Oops, that shouldn't be playing. Okay. I don't want to get into like decorators and stuff right now, so I'm just gonna do this. So what I'm using here is a feature of Python that allows a function to return multiple variables. I think it's just called multiple return. And this is not fantastic code. This is pretty hacky, but it's good enough for explanation. So, And actually, I want to do. Yeah. Okay. So now what I've got is like a basic routing table, where if somebody goes to one URL, we call one function. If somebody goes to another URL, we call another function. And then if they do anything else, any other URL whatsoever, they get this function. Now let's see if this works. Yeah, okay. What was the other one? Oh yeah, whatever. Okay, so this works. So this is a little bit closer to what quote unquote real Python app development looks like. You don't have one big function that is like, if path equals /admin, then the entire admin code base is here. Like nobody would ever do that. You know what I mean? Otherwise this function right here is going to be like 900 pages long. So you break it up into individual what are called like handlers, request handlers. So, and then you do what's called routing. So here we're doing a bit of routing. We're saying, if the request goes to a particular path, then call the right handler. This is again super lo-fi and simple, but this is the basics of like what Flask is gonna do, Django, Starlet, all of those. I guess Starlet's not the right thing. It's called Fast API. That's the thing I'm thinking of. But all of the Python frameworks work this way. This is how Ruby on Rails works. And
when you was testing just now, how come when you did /die it returned hello?
Okay, good question. So how come this returns hello? It's because of the way I structured this if statement. So I said if the path is exactly whatever, then we call whatever. If the path is exactly HTML, then call HTML. Otherwise, call hello.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is like our default. This is our like if anything else, and that way this could be like anything. It could be like /things, stuff equals junk, and I don't know, beer equals tasty or whatever. Oh right, I guess I gotta quote that. Yeah, and it still comes back with all that stuff. Actually, what I should show you while I'm thinking about this, while Matt's hacking on whatever he's hacking on. All those extra things that I just added to that request, those are called query parameters or query arguments. So everything that comes after the question mark in a URL is separate from the path. I keep saying URL. URL is the old term. Now it's called URI. But basically, there's a lot of pieces in URI. So this is called the scheme or the protocol, and it could be HTTP or HTTPS, or it could be FTP, but we're writing a web server, so it wouldn't be FTP. There's a lot of protocols out there in the internet that we're just using HTTP right now. And then you got the host name and the port, and then this is considered the path. Why is this not working? Oh, right, because I'm not in Vim. I was trying to highlight. So this is the path, and then everything that comes after the question mark are called query arguments, and they're key name equals value, and then they're separated by ampersands, and then another key name equals value. And so, these are not very useful, but it could just be like, let's see, like query equals beer or something like that. And this, oh yeah, right. I guess I don't want to save. This, if you just go to google.com and type some stuff in.
So yeah, like if you watch the address buddy meeting we in right now.
Yeah, like you see, that's how my query gets sent to Google. It's literally a query argument. It's like what this was designed for.
Okay.
God, there's a company called Stuff. Fuck the whole internet.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, close. Okay, so now I want to just show you. So the path that we're doing our routing on is just one characteristic of this request that might matter to us as web developers. So you can see here I've still got the path / things, but query string is a separate parameter. So what might happen is, if I write a things handler, let's do, what did I say? Oh, query? Oh, for fuck's sake, whatever you're up to. Let's see here, and then go LF. So I'll add another route. I don't know why I'm switching arbitrarily between single quotes and double quotes. Environ dot. What did we say it was? Query string. Query string. Okay. Let's get rid of the breakpoint. Okay. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? So
Yeah.
you have a single handler function, and basically what that means is that your web requests can produce arbitrary function arguments to your handler functions. This is essentially the very, very basics of how dynamic web applications work. Okay. Matt, where'd you go? Show me your weird shit. What have you got over there?
Oh. Yeah, and then it's as much ado about nothing now, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I took so long to realize I needed some single quotes to make things. I gotta show you a screen. That screen. So the whatever works, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you want to see Dick.
Nice. There's Dick. Okay, so show us how you did that.
Oh, I mean, it's super simple. The actual thing that was killing me was because this link is all like gobbledygook, and further on downstream where you can't see it, there's some numbers.
Yeah.
I had this single quote outside of the body.
I see.
The double quotes and then the double quotes, it was parsing the link, and it got real mad about there being numbers.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is a perfect example of why people don't write their fucking HTML in Python.
Yeah, true story. Like this was way harder than it needed to be.
Yes, yeah. You always wind up in these situations. So frequently, what happens? Let's write an asset handler. So let's just quickly do this. So how are we gonna do this? Let's do it like this. I mean, this is again, this is a big, very toys kind of way of doing stuff, but how do you do this again? So when I can't remember how to do stuff, I often will just open up a Python shell and start trying stuff. So so I have a variable now called path that is a string, and I want to know what methods Python gives me that for string manipulation, because I can't remember and I don't want to Google it. So this is like when I am trying to figure something out in Python, this is how I think through a problem. So if I do dir on this string variable, I can now see there's all these methods that are things I could do, right? So I could do path.swap case. What does that do? It makes lower, upper. I presume it makes upper, lower. I could do path.is lower. True, yes. Is upper? False. Okay, just a bunch of useful helpers that for string stuff that you might care about. What I want is something that will do like, is it just path.find? Yeah. or oh, it's got starts with. Where starts with? Yeah, this is the method that I couldn't remember the name of. So I want to do path dot starts with. No, path dot starts with slash files. True. Now. Okay.
So this is interesting. I'm predicting you're about to cover something I tried to fix before I figured out the single quote thing. But carry on.
Okay. So basically we're gonna write a handler that can accept an arbitrary path that comes after / files, and then we're gonna have it read that file off a disk and return it.
Yep.
So let's figure out how we're gonna do this. So if I go dot starts with / files, then content type comma body equals files. But first I'm gonna create a function called files, a handler called files. I need to figure out a way to pass a file name in here. Pass is just a way to say, like, I'll get to this later. Otherwise, if you leave this blank, Python considers this a syntax error. Okay, so now I go back to my thinking panel and I go, okay, how do I do this? So I can do path. I know it has split is a method, so I want to split on slashes, and it returns a list, and each element in the list is what was on one side or the other side of a slash. I could do this as split on dot, and it would split it this way, for example, right? So I want to split on slash, and then Python has this like nice list accessing syntax. So like if I want if I go parts of file path or something like that. Actually, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm just gonna call it X, just so it's easier to type. X equals. So if I want to access the first element of X, I access it with 0, the second element, third element, and so on. But if I just want the last element, and I don't care how many elements they are, just give me the last one, you use -1. So if I go back over here, I can do file name equals environ at info dot split on slash, and I'm doing this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna do rather than do this all in one line, I'm gonna be explicit here. So file name parts equals this, and then I'll go file name equals file name parts at element -1, and then I'm gonna pass that into my function, and then just to make sure this works, I'm gonna do return text plain. My file name is file name. All right, let's see if this works. Oops. Hold on. Files / thing dot text. Oops, I forgot to in my quote. Okay. There we go. Okay. So why don't you guys add that?
That's all.
And I'll just make this a little easier to read.
Now you've got 2 F's before an elif.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That should be an elif.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works because
It works because you only hit.
Yeah, it could be like this.
Yeah.
But well, actually, that wouldn't be great either. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It should all be one big if block.
Yeah. Can you do a fresh paste, because I got so far behind while I was fucking around with my dick pic that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just do that so you're not typing a whole bunch of shit. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll add it as a code snippet. Create a text snippet. Okay, there it is in the Slack. All right, how are we looking?
Yep. Cool.
Retrieve files / something.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Well, it should work. It's a direct cut and paste of your code. So.
Okay. So, here's what I want to do: 2 more things, and then maybe we'll wrap it up. So we're gonna make an assets directory, and in the assets directory, we're gonna put asses.
Cool.
This is terrible what I'm about to show.
Excellent. That's my favorite kind of code.
I can't remember how to read bytes. Let's see here. So I'll do my trusty breakpoint. And I will trigger that code. What the fuck? Okay. Oh, right. Cool, I got an exception. Right. Okay, 500. No such file directory. Right.
Yeah. So that's what I ran into when I was trying to do the dick pic, because I just downloaded it, stuck it in the same directory as the Python thing, and referenced it direct, and it was like, no.
Okay. So now if I curl localhost as donkey.jpg. Okay, now I get my breakpoint. So what I want to do here is figure out what is the method. Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. Okay, this is great. So I was like, how do I read bytes instead of text? I forgot. With this second argument to open, this argument right here, is is that? I can't remember. Let's see. Open dot. Oh my good lord. So if you get yourself in a situation like this and you're trying to get the Python shell to teach you something, you can just print an underscore doc and it will make it more readable. So this is like directly the built-in docs from Python. So open file, return a stream, blah blah blah. Okay, open for reading, defaults, binary mode. This is it. So you pass these like characters, these like random. You have to just know these. So what I want is I want to read the file. I want to open it and read binary mode, and then I can do data equals f dot read. Okay. Now this leads us to an interesting problem with our implementation, I think. Although my browser might forgive what's about to happen. You're not supposed to UTF-8 encode JPEGs. And our logic here assumes that we're going to UTF-8 encode everything. So let's just see what happens if I run this code. Blah! Okay, yeah, this is what happens when you treat a binary file as encoded text data. So this is not what I want. And so just to be sure, if I look at this in a browser /files/askdonkey. Localhost 8080. Yeah, the JPEG doesn't load because the browser can't interpret the encoded bytes as a JPEG. So I have to fix the code so that it doesn't do that. So what we should do then is
hold on, go back up to
your
def files for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, you changed the return.
Yes. Yeah. We need a new content type because it's image. And I guess we're just going to assume that it's always going to be a JPEG. Like, for example, if we put, I don't know, MP3s in here, this wouldn't work.
Yeah, sure.
So then what I want to do is I'm going to make it so that the text-based functions return the correctly encoded, it's already correctly encoded. And this, like I said, this is all very janky. You would never write anything like this in real life. This is just to get our heads around how this shit all fits together. We will get to the point where we're doing real production grade shit eventually. Okay, so those are all properly encoded now. So now I can just do return response. I think. Let's see what happens. Ooh, we got an exception. Where's my exception? Write argument must be a bytes instance. What is that? I guess so all I did was open the file in binary mode and call read on it. I have no idea what type of data this is. So let's set a breakpoint and inspect what type of data the opening a JPEG file gives me. So if I hit reload, what is in here? What are you? Type data. Your bytes. What the fuck? Your fucking bytes, bot. Your fucking bytes. Write argument must be a bytes instance. Why don't I see... Alright, let me just close it for a second. Alright.
Yeah, I got the same. Write arguments must be a byte.
Yeah, okay. Let me just see if for
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah.
We did this differently. You did encoded response equals response, and then, okay, I just changed the return. So we did the same thing, just different ways. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Stop it.
Is it because you're in? Do you have response equals and still passing the F?
Where's that?
So just before you return inside of your app function.
You're right.
Because you can't format.
Yeah. Oh, great catch. Okay. Yeah. So, wait. You see what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm turning the bytes back into a string right here.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have found if I had gotten to the point where I was actually debugging this. So what I did was, I knew from up here when I had my breakpoint right here, I knew that data was of type bytes. but
So
I
hold on.
converted it down here.
We need to do if response
I mean, we can just do this.
dot type. Can you do response dot type?
Well,
To type,
no.
no, if type response.
Well, hold on. What are you doing? Are you sharing your screen? Let me see what you're doing.
I'm not sharing my screen, but I will. What I'm doing is because we have some functions that will return a string and some that will already return binaries. In theory, we need to if capture on response to say if type response equals, is it str or string?
Do space, or sorry, get rid of the equal sign. So when you're
Oh,
doing
yeah,
this,
do is string?
Yeah. Or actually, no, it's lowercase.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure.
Because
Maybe
then you tab that over, and
Yeah.
then you would do elif response, or sorry, type response is, you know what? It's definitely capital.
Yeah.
If it's that, then I want response to equal body.
So I think yeah, there's another way to do this, but I'm gonna let you finish doing what you're doing.
I think I'm finished doing what I'm doing.
Are you? Is it working?
I don't know. We're gonna
I
find
don't
out.
think this is gonna work.
Okay, well. Yeah, it did not. It got real uppity. Local variable response referenced before assignment.
Yeah. Okay. So we're doing this the wrong way, and I should have recognized the minute we started. But you don't actually want to do if type. There's a function called isInstance, all one word.
Oh, sure.
So you want to do if isInstance response, and then I think it's you pass in. Let's see. Is it actually? I'm just going to find out from here. So it's isInstance dot return whether an object is an instance of the thing. So you pass in two arguments to this function. Something you want to check and something you want to compare it to.
Yeah, we used this. Wayne had used this in his iterating function.
Right. Perfect. Okay.
So we want to check. Do I have to just
So you wanna
data
check-
comma string?
Well, at this point, it's not data. It's whatever was returned from. It's body. It's called body at this point.
Oh, it's called body.
Yeah.
Which is also probably why my my last thing didn't work.
Great. This is great.
It might be.
Well, let's see. Let's see how great it is. How great can it be? You didn't throw an error.
Yeah, it did.
Name string is
Do I have to do type string?
no. There's a
Oh, hold on. No, that's not the one. Cat.
maybe just str.
If is instance data list. Okay, so it's definitely lowercase.
Yeah, it's just the letters str.
Is it?
Yeah. It's not the whole word string, for fucking reasons. Because fuck you. That's why.
Because Python, fuck yourself. Now that said, that line of code should not have hit because I tried to return a byte.
What shouldn't have hit?
So when I made my web request, it should have hit elif. But I guess it would have hit the if first because that would have had to return
Right.
false and then before. Yeah, okay.
Right.
I went too far. Nope.
Line.
Byte object has
54.
no attribute in code.
So you see just above the error, it says file home mat code bootcamp web server line 54.
Yeah.
just pop the file open and jump right to line 54, which in Vim you can do by going colon and then the line number,
Or I can just hold down.
or you can hold down.
Oh, I'm yeah. Hold on. We'll just boop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, that's
what I
fine.
did to make that color happen, but because I didn't actually change.
Hey,
Oh,
hey.
okay. No.
No?
I didn't get Richard Nixon. I got the word hello.
Did you go to /files/ dick or whatever?
Yeah, I went to /assets/dict.jpg.
But we didn't call if you look at the code, it's not /assets, it's /files.
Oh. Even though you made the directory called assets?
The directory called assets. The directory is.
No. I got /assets.
Do you? Where?
On the
In
line.
line 34.
Oh, 34.
Yeah. So what we've just introduced is a very common type of logic problem where you're plumbing. They call this plumbing through, right? You're stringing something from an HTML or from an HTTP request into a router into a request handler, and we like changed something slightly on the way. Did it work?
Well, you're just going to have to believe me because I'm only sharing the window, but I am looking at Richard Nixon.
All right. Well, here. Okay. Let me see if I can make mine work then.
Oh, here. Entire screen. There's my guy Nixon.
Oh, yeah.
Dickest of all the dicks.
There's my ass.
Nice. That's a solid ass. It's a bit furry. You might want to manscape that ass a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not one to shave my ass.
No judgment, you
know. Sweet. Okay. There's one last thing I want to do here. The reason that I made that directory. So hold on. I just want to finish my thought about the error we just introduced. That is an extremely common error where something is like, it's one thing at one point in the execution pipeline, and then it's changed somewhere else, and then it's changed somewhere else. That is the source of so many fucking bugs, and it's very hard to eliminate because as the app evolves, like tomorrow, the product manager might come to us and say, we can't just serve files from /files. We have to serve profile pics from /profile pics. And so now you've got a new path that the browser is going to touch, that the front end team, the JavaScript guys, are like writing code that connects to that path. That on the back end, we're still storing all the JPEGs in one big fucking directory. So we need to map two different HTTP paths to a single bucket of files. For example, that's just like one contrived example. But this happens all the fucking time. So whenever you have the opportunity, you should fight against that type of complexity by making this shit match. So I'm going to go over here.
You like that, Wayne? That'll be fun on GitHub.
I'm afraid to ask what the fuck's going on. Dick, Jesus Christ. All right. Listen.
It's a private
so fucking Friday right now. You guys are killing me.
It's a private repository.
Okay.
But yeah, I look forward to seeing that as a comment on a couple of files in that repository, just dick pics.
Oh, right. Okay, so I changed it to /files, but I need to actually move assets to files. Okay. And then... Right, okay, this is great. So it's working. Okay, there's one other thing I want to do before we call it, which is I want to add a little bit of configuration. And what I want to do is I'm gonna add this bit of configuration is going to be the path. So I'm going to go static file path. That's what I'll call it. Static file path equals Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do this. Okay. And then down here, what I'm going to do is this. And, oh yeah, and there's one other thing I have to do, which is I have to re-comment out this because this thing is stripping all the environment variables. I'm about to use a process environment variable to pass
Mm-hmm.
configuration into my application, so I can't strip them all out again. So let's try running this. An error occurred. Okay, where's my fatal? My app. Did I not just set that? Oh fuck! I fucking spelled it wrong. My app static file path. Great. So that what you just saw is why you fucking put an exception like this in here. I can't tell you how many times I have been on call for production software where some developer had some configuration like this that is absolutely critical to the function of the application, but they didn't make it throw an error. In fact, what is often the case is developers will do something like this. They'll put in, this is what's called like a silent default. Basically, where like, if this environment variable is not set, then we will just quietly default to reading our files from test path. And if this shit goes into production and the people whose responsibility it is to deploy this application don't fucking know that this random variable needs to be set, they're going to be tearing their hair out trying to figure out what's wrong. Whereas if you just put in a little something like you can leave this, like, well, no, you shouldn't leave this. You should not leave that shit hard coded in your source code. You should require, even as you, the developer, are working on the software, that the only way that that stuff gets into the application is through environment variables like we just saw. There we go. Okay. So, okay, there we go. It looks like it's working. So if I reload my page, yeah, I still have an ass, and I can reload this. All right, I'm gonna put this. Yeah, let me. You know what? I'm gonna add this as our like final reference of this into the chat. That's I think where I want to park it today. So,
Cool.
What do you think about what we just saw? Are there like, is it making you think
that's
thoughts or like ideas or like, where's your brain at?
so obviously ideas is not my strong suit, but it definitely, if somebody came to me with an idea, I would have a better idea of how to actually do that thing. Like when I get ideas, they result in stupid stuff. Like I'm going to make a thing called /dick-pics and have it display Richard Nixon. You know,
Right. Yeah.
like,
Right.
I'm a child and always will be.
Right.
But at the same time, I figured out how to do that. So very positive.
Okay. Wayne, what are you thinking about?
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in. You are absolutely right. I recorded this whole thing. I don't think your two guys' voices will come through on this. I think it will just be me. I'm gonna try to figure out for next time how to get all of our audio in here. But I'll upload this and you can review it. Sean said he wants to watch it later, so that this will be for him. Hi, Sean.
Sure. God damn it, Sean. As far as our voices showing up, if they don't show up, I know it's common for people who do like podcasts and shit. Often use Zoom because Zoom has some kind of like a virtual camera pass-through type deal that will make all the audio end up there.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
don't know
call.
if Google Meet will or won't.
Yeah, I think I can probably. There's probably a thing I can do in OBS to add a new audio source and like extract audio from what's being played. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if because it's coming out of the browser. I guess as long as you're hooking it after the browser with what's actually coming out of your speakers.
Yeah. There's various ways
that should work.
With this.
So basically, Rob, you just showed us how everything works.
Yes.
But when we start using Django takes care of everything. Like
yes. So the reason I wanted you to see that, like, this is kind of like where my head goes when I think about like using Django and using things like VS Code, is like Django's awesome because it does so much shit for you, but it hides how things work. And
Right.
like understanding sort of very simple things like what we just saw helps build a mental model so that when you start using more complex tools, you understand kind of, you're probably never going to go look down in Django at the route matching logic of how it matches paths and query arguments and shit, but you know that it has to be there. It has to be there somewhere, right? So that'll give you a sense of like when it goes wrong, what could be going wrong.
Yeah, if I can build on that point, in all of my years of working in IT, the number of times I've had to explain to some kid on the help desk that the first thing that happens when you send an email is that the email server goes and looks at the MX records for a domain to see if it can actually get there.
Right.
And you'll get tickets all the time. Oh, we can't email this domain. Oh, okay, well, go look at the MX records. Yeah, they're fucked. And no wonder we can't email this domain. It's not our problem.
Right.
Like understanding how the shit works under the hood will make you infinitely better at designing things in a world where those simple things are often taken care of for you.
Totally. Okay.
Knowing how to drive a standard car makes you a better driver even if you drive an automatic.
True. True. So here's what I'm gonna suggest. I'm gonna stop this and upload it for Sean so that he can see this before next week, and then the next time we get together, I want to do this again, but instead of using the like bullshit built-in stuff, we're gonna use probably Flask, and which is like a very very well-known, well-established Python web development framework, and it has a lot of very nice like tools built into it to make the developer experience a lot nicer. Like our code is ugly. When you see how a Flask app looks, it looks so clean and nice. So we're going to use a slightly higher up tool. We're going to work our way up to Django. And the other thing I want to introduce next week is an application server, which is a special type of web server who's designed to run your business logic, like the code you wrote.
Yeah. All right, I gotta drop.
All right, I'm gonna go to the liquor store. I'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Peace.